Welcome to the Moral Courage Podcast, Jewish inspiration for today's world, inspired by the work of Rabbi Harold M. Schulweis, Zichrono Levracha, may his memory be a blessing.
Excited today to be joined by Rabbi Lizzie Heidemann of Mishkan in Chicago.
This past Shabbat, I learned this from Rabbi Feinstein, who learned it from Rabbi Schulweis. But the idea of, you look at this wall of blessings. We bless you, God, for doing this. We bless you, God, for doing that. We bless you, God, for doing this. And some of the blessings, I'm even just talking about, for example, blessings of the morning, Birchot HaShachar, opening the eyes of the blind, creating a world where we release captives and free captives. And you look at that, and on a superficial level, you might say, but that's not true. God doesn't make everyone see. There are blind people, and there are people without clothes, and there are people who aren't free. And so if you add two words to the end of the prayer, then suddenly it's not about God doing these things. It's about us being moved to do these things. So blessed are you who is manifest, who is manifest throughout the universe, who releases captives through us, who clothes the naked through us, who helps open the eyes of the blind through us, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? Like, we have no excuse not to be trying to be a little more divine.
Rabbi Schulweis was a pulpit rabbi at Valley Beth Shalom in Encino, California from 1970 until his passing in 2014. He made Judaism approachable and accessible. He believed that humanity could do divine work in the world, trying to make it a better place.
Rabbi Elliot Dorff, I'm so happy to get to sit with you in Ziegler's new offices.
I would say to Harold, right, what about all of that?
And did he have an answer of that's tohu vavohu, and our job is godliness? Our job as partners with God is to fight against this. It's not, God didn't create the void and nullification and disorder of the world. God's job is to bring order to chaos.
Right. That's right.
And our job is to do that as well. And so I'm trying to
that's right.
convey, because I grew up with the idea of godliness.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helpful to people, especially, yesterday was Yom HaShoah, especially in the face of thinking about the Holocaust or any other awful event, children who are sick.
Right.
Feel to say God isn't in the sickness. God didn't create God forbid. Right. God is here in the people who brought you soup and held your hands and said prayers.
That's right.
That's God.
That's right. And in, everybody who's trying to do good in the world, right? Whether that be, doctors that are looking to try to cure illnesses or prevent them, or whether it be agencies like Jewish Family Service that have been very much involved in that try to help people with mental health issues, and food deprivation and all kinds of other things, right? That's godliness.
He was a co-founder of the anti-genocide program Jewish World Watch, and said that Jews have a moral responsibility to help those who are suffering wherever they are. He was also the founding chair of the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, recognizing Christians who saved Jews during the Holocaust. His is a voice that we need now, as the world is fraught in constant conflict with suffering and irresponsibility both in abundance.
I am so happy to see you, Rabbi B'nai Laffy. I work with the Ziegler School in LA, and I'm going to guess, I don't know exactly, but like half the students are female. And how different it is now from how it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
What changed that conversation?
Oh, so many things. I think Harold Schulweis was absolutely a part of changing that. I think queer people living as active Jews in the Jewish world, seeing that it didn't cause the walls to fall down. On the contrary, it was a good thing, not a bad thing, that queer people wanted in, not to tear down the tradition, but to be a part of it and to have it be a part of their lives and to grow it. He spoke not only from that place as a legitimate representative of the conservative movement and a leader of it, he also spoke to the necessity of Jewish law, of halacha, to incorporate moral conscience. And I remember standing and watching his keynote address to the Rabbinical Assembly in 1993, I think it was. And I was absolutely transfixed. You know, there are those moments when you remember what you wore and where you stood and what everything looked. It was one of those moments. I was in my second year of rabbinical school. I was at Ziegler. I started at Ziegler and then went to New York. And I was a student, and I watched him, and he spoke what I didn't have the words for. He was arguing for the tradition to have a moral conscience.
Hi, this is Mayim Bialik. My Jewish identity is a primary driver of everything I do and a defining quality of everything I am in this world. I was lucky to have learned many things from the late Rabbi Harold Schulweis while I was growing up in Los Angeles and during my time at UCLA. He shaped the way I think about our responsibility to each other, as well as the critical need for compassion as a foundation of our Jewish and human identity. So when the opportunity arose to share Rabbi Schulweis's inspiring legacy with podcast listeners everywhere, I felt called to be a part of it, as a way to further transmit Rabbi Schulweis's wisdom and legacy. Subscribe now to make sure you don't miss any of our conversations with rabbis and cantors, educators, academics, and other Jewish leaders on how the rabbi's teachings still echo in today's world. Please join me, some of today's most dynamic Jewish leaders, and the Harold M. Schulweis Institute as we dip into the wisdom that Rabbi Schulweis left behind and seek inspiration in his legacy. May his work guide us with moral courage as we navigate our complicated present.